Question is whether we call hazmat or the bum squad, by user Ulfer. I technically work for a hospital, and my job title used to be something medicine related. This was problematic because hospitals are really big on required trainings, and a lot of the trainings I had to participate in were medicine related. Things like, what's the ratio for bleach to biological material before it's safe to pour down the drain? I had no idea, and eventually my manager worked out an arrangement with the hospital. They changed my job title to something tech related, and I have to work in the help desk once a month. It's not a bad deal. Doing help desk day in and day out would be soul crushing, trust me, I've been there. Once a month though? That's infrequent enough to feel like it's kind of fun, rather than a chore. So I'm at the help desk once a month. Yesterday I was at the help desk doing my thing when a woman came in with an Apple laptop. She's saying she was using it in bed last night and it got really hot and it turned off and the laptop started to creak. Hearing this was alarming in and of itself, but then she brought the laptop out of its bag and I saw something you never want to see up close. The battery was no longer a battery. It was the spiciest pillow I'd ever seen. The actual outer layer of the battery, mostly intended to keep the battery rigid, was stretched and torn, and the inside liner of the battery, mostly intended to keep the battery from bursting, was starting to bulge out. I could see this because the bottom portion of said laptop was bent to such a degree that one of the screws had actually popped out and the pillow was easily visible. I promptly skipped back 2 steps myself and in the calmest voice I could manage at the time, "Ma'am, I am going to need you to take several steps back away from the laptop." And then followed that in a louder tone reserved for when someone's doing their best to stay calm when all they really want to do is shit their pants, "I need everyone at least 6 feet away from this portion of the desk please." Everyone promptly withdrew while the woman was still standing there, confused. "What? What do you mean? It's just a laptop." I grabbed a full timer and quietly asked him to track down the thermal camera. I had to ask him twice since he was just staring at that laptop, not unlike someone might do if a train accident is imminent. Then he nodded and disappeared into the back. "Ma'am, please take 2 big steps backwards." "Was it hot when you took it out of the bag?" I asked, mentally crossing my fingers that it wasn't. She staggered back a step. I don't think so." "Why?" I was still staring at the laptop. "If it's hot we need to call the fire department or possibly the bum squad. If it's not I can just call hazmat. Laptop batteries explode if they start to bulge like that." Her mouth opened and closed a few times without making any actual words come out, just vague noises. Everyone in the vicinity heard the B word and suddenly decided they had urgent business literally anywhere else. I was jealous. The full timer I'd grabbed came back with the thermal camera and the help desk manager. Help desk manager saw the laptop everyone was staring at and just said, "Oh hell no. We call anyone yet?" I used the thermal camera and the battery wasn't hot enough to be alarming. Probably had some charge in it but it wasn't at risk of actively venting. "No, I don't know who to call about hazmat." Maybe 10 minutes after I handed the camera back, 2 grumpy-looking janitors wearing heavy gloves and carrying what appeared to be a big box with a heavy lid showed up. They looked at the laptop. One of them said, "Damn." I said yup. They gingerly placed the box next to the laptop, took the top off the box, and then placed the entire laptop inside. Lid went on and then they both took a side and carried it gingerly out of the room. Everyone took a big sigh of relief and seemed to slump a little. The woman who brought the laptop in asked for a desktop to replace the laptop. Can't imagine why. Liquid damage, by user Gormsby. Approximate 12 months ago, a customer calls me. "Hey, that laptop you sold me? The keyboard's not working." "Sorry to hear that. What exactly is wrong?" "The bottom row of keys isn't working." "Is it still in warranty?" "Oh, yes, this machine has a 3-year warranty. I'll need to do some troubleshooting before I can send it off." "Have you power cycled the laptop?" "Yes, it still doesn't work." OK, proceeds to talk customer through device manager, uninstall keyboard device, reboot. Still not working. "Yes, it sounds faulty all right. Do you have an external keyboard you can use in the meantime?" "Sure." "All right, I'll go ahead and schedule the work. The service depot will send you a courier label. Pack it up, or I can do that for you, put the label on and send it off. It'll take about a week. I can lend you a laptop while it's being fixed." "All right. Now, I have to advise you that if they open it up and find liquid damage, it won't be a warranty claim and you'll have to pay them for a new keyboard and labor before they send it back." "Oh, well, I can't spare it just now. I'll let you know when I have some time. Apparently she's not been able to spare it for over 12 months. The too long story of the too technically illiterate user, update by usermax4. I called it. And I was right. In the original post pointed out, if this person has access to sensitive information, how easy would it be to con information from that user? How easy would it be for them to fail a phishing attempt? That's exactly what happened. I got a ticket in saying that they didn't fail a phishing test but an actual attempt. I don't know what sensitive info the user had access to, but the next steps were to remote log out of sessions and wipe the machine. My supervisor requested that I help him, but I pointed out that after our last interaction he didn't want me to assist him anymore. Still, I felt bad for the guy and wanted to get him up and running anyway. So I prepped a loaner and got him set up on that. Surprisingly, there wasn't as much pushback or confusion there. I even requested another manager stay nearby but out of sight so that she could monitor me and give me feedback if I was doing something wrong. I got him set up on the loaner and took his machine with me, but not before meeting with the manager, who said that not only was I far more patient than she could have been, but that her team was keeping notes and tallies on him to where the CIO was going to be notified. I could have kissed her right there. I told her I really didn't want to get him in trouble, but would rather him be forced to take classes so he's at the same higher knowledge level as the rest of his team. Even with minor issues on our side, I got his original computer set back up. He seemed happy and more pleasant this time, so I was happy, secretly knowing what kind of fallout may occur. I even empathized with the guy and told him that my bank card was compromised, how I had to Google the number texted to me alerting me of the possible fraud only to find it was legit, but that I too have made a similar mistake. I tell stories like these, all true, so give the user a sense of being level with them, that while I may know more tech stuff, I'm not above them at all. It did irk me that he was still eating over his laptop and even over the loaner. I half joked to me team that if it happens again, I'm giving the laptop to his supervisor so that he or she can clean it out for me before returning it. So, who knows what will happen next? Maybe they'll get someone to fill in. One manager said they'll probably just pull his laptop, which I'm hoping is true. This way we'll have his manager reassign him to a different department, something that doesn't require the use of a computer. The enemies within, the network is flat. Episode 130, by usernarabro. As usual, cities, countries, etc. are obfuscated. So I'm new at this MSP. And I'm expected to be able to diagnose network issues. Now, I'm sitting here, trying to figure out what is where. I spent a whole month trying to get a grip on what their network looked like. And when pressed, the customer's internal IT kept saying the network was flat. No matter what, the network was flat. And last week they started using a new IP range, and were yelling at me about why it couldn't route to the whole network. Let's talk about how flat that network is. There's a core network in Nairobi. They have another network in Casablanca. They have a satellite office in Austin. They have 3 data centers which don't correspond with those cities. They have several physical offices with their own switches and networks in them. They have a firewall cluster I do not get access to. They have multiple separate cloud-based server clusters. So there's tunnels between sites. Tunnels between server clusters. Tunnels between data centers. Users can connect through 2 separate VPNs that have different entry points. And the routes on each of these links aren't coherent and IP space isn't recorded anywhere. If their network is flat, so is Dolly Parton. If their network is flat, a London black cab is a sports car. If their network is flat, I'm a capybara. The enemies within, I smell trout. And sloppy OPSEC. Episode 131, by usernarabro. Hey, that's a long story. Phishing reporting tool leaks data to attackers. If you're buying a security tool, make sure you know how it works. During my onboarding, it was clear that they expected some security. They emphasized a few things, the absurd level of 2FA hoops, and frequent password changes definitely reinforced that. I was informed that we'd be tested on phishing attempts. And I was trained on how to report them. We have a plugin to Outlook just for reporting phishing. When you send the report, what the plugin does, is it saves a copy of the email, as an attachment, then emails it to the security group. So I got some really fishy emails which referenced messages from Teams. It turns out, that these are normal, and the message is looking weird. Is normal. It's not my first time on Teams, but it is my first time getting those emails. I'm on my first day, looking at an email that just smells of spear phishing. It's got my name, but nothing is rendering well, and it has no specific details. So I report the email. And that's when things get pear-shaped. After I hit the report email link, it fully loads the email. The HTML, the images, it does all the linking, and then packages that up and sends it. Thankfully this was an internally, though sloppily generated email. If it were a real phishing attempt, whomever sent it would now know the external IP of my network, that the email was opened, what images I loaded. This is a lot of useful information if you are going to try to manipulate a target. This upset me. If you're gonna strangle me with multiple 2FA a day, rapid password changes, and are going to beat me about the head with a trout over security, don't do the bad thing outside my control. The first ticket I opened at the company was one, for me, about this security hole. The security team didn't understand what was happening. Their first response, which I got twice, was don't open the email. And I didn't. The security team's response speed wasn't great. It was a solid 8 emails later before we finally were communicating on any sort of useful level. It turns out, they had never really looked at how the tool worked, and its behavior was just that bad. They weren't renewing the contract anyway, so it's gone now.